Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Tuesday, October 25th, 2022. And our top story today, the cumulative economic loss is 4.3% of GDP for smoking. Dr. Nargis, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you for inviting me to this program. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to talk about, look, as if any individual needed a reason not to use tobacco products and not to smoke. Here comes the American Cancer Society and yourself and your team with some really important information. I mean, starting at a very high level, the cost, forgetting the cost of a pack of cigarettes or a pack of tobacco products, the cost of using tobacco has a significant impact on productivity as an individual, but also at the federal and state level. Your thoughts?
Yes, the cost of tobacco use is not only reflected in the morbidity and mortality caused by the diseases that it inflicts upon people. It also has substantial cost in terms of the health expenditures that are needed to treat those diseases. And also people lose productive time when they're sick or when they die prematurely. And not only that, there are costs on household level productivity that are not paid in the market, but that is the cost that the caregivers at house provides to those who are ill in their family. And on top of that, people incur significant trauma and loss of grief of losing someone near and dear ones. Those are the costs that we cannot measure, but those are reflected in their overall reduction in productivity as well. So we try to capture those in terms of an economic loss concept, which is like monetizing these costs. And capturing all of these components in one measure. And that's what we try to do in this article.
And 4.3% of GDP, I mean, that is, of course, this is an economic model, but that is pretty significant. Let's start off with the obvious is the health expenditures, right? I mean, if you do smoke, and we're all very familiar with the Surgeon General's warning that has been on there for 50, 60 years? I mean, it was there when I was growing up as a young boy, not a young boy, but a young man. So it's very clear what it will do. But let's talk about the health expenditures, because the cost of healthcare for somebody who contracts a deadly disease like cancer, that's going to go up significantly. You're going to be paying out of pocket, and it's going to impact caregivers as well.
Yes, of course. So this cost is going to go up because as the cancer burden grows, it is in an epidemic form now. And the more and more people are affected, the overall cost is going to go up. But also the per capita cost in the U.S. is the highest in the world. So that is quite dramatic because, this cost is ultimately borne by either the person and the family themselves, but also by the society as a whole, because some of these costs are funded from the taxpayers' money. The part that is covered by the government through Medicare or Medicaid programs, those are also the costs that are spread over the entire population. So there are both individual costs and societal costs that we have to be mindful of.
And let's talk about I think we understand the individual cost. I think, if you contract cancer, you have to go through treatment. You are not going to be productive. But let's talk about the caregivers, because we've covered that on the program a lot. The caregivers have to give up their time. to support somebody who might have cancer, whether it's taking them to treatment, going to the hospital, fetching prescription drugs or fetching other remedies, or not remedies, but drugs to help with treating. But so there is a significant so if a care worker is picking somebody up picking up things, they might not be going into the office. They may not be working from home. They might not be being productive. So there's a significant loss to not only themselves, but to their employer.
That's also reflected in the cost estimate in our paper. If you look at the loss of unpaid household productivity, that's pretty much what it is covered there. And the individuals or family members taking care of the patients in their family have to give up a lot of their market productivity as well as household productivity, and somebody has to forego that time in the family to take care of the sick. American Cancer Society also has thousands of volunteers across the country who provide service for taking care of the cancer patients and for all their traveling and visiting doctors, picking up prescription drugs. Those are the costs that are not captured in the GDP, or per capita personal income that we talked about in this paper. So we actually estimated that how much that caregiver's cost might be in terms of loss of household productivity because of the morbidity created by tobacco use.
So does this provide another education tool? So I'm very familiar, I think our audience is very familiar with public service announcements over the years that have told people why not to smoke. I can recall the lungs being filled up with brown smoke or decay as an example. But does this provide another educational tool for the public? Like, hey, it's not just about you. It's also about your loved ones. And think about your loved ones when you're going to sneak a smoke in the back.
Definitely. So when people who are on the side of the freedom of choice or consumer sovereignty, they speak about giving people the freedom to pick the products they want to use. But this is the kind of product where you cannot completely apply the freedom of choice or be sovereign about it, because you have got to worry about your closest family people. Not only that, you are imposing a lot of cost on the society as a whole. Even if you cannot connect yourself to them, they are bearing the cost directly or indirectly. So yes, this is a concern not only for individual health and economic loss. It is about the loss to the families and the society as a whole, the nation as a whole.
Yeah. Dr. Nargis, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the economic impact of tobacco use. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now for this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers. This free book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies that will help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. Call right now for your free book, and as a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-504-8194.
Dr. Nargis, thanks so much for sticking around with us this morning for segment number 2.
Thank you.
Yeah, really important conversation. All right, so by quantifying this cost, it's obviously very important for all of us as citizens, as individuals using the healthcare system, or people who just care about our loved ones to know about this. What's the lesson here for policymakers? If there are policymakers out there watching, we know people are running for re-election now, so maybe they're not in Congress, they're not in the Senate yet. But what's the takeaway here? I mean, this is pretty impactful. Almost 5% of GDP is lost as a result of tobacco use.
Well, the quantification of the health cost or economic cost of tobacco use is precisely aimed at the policymakers because they need to be informed about the huge loss the economy is incurring because of people smoking. And while it is not easy to influence individual behavior or prevent them from smoking, there are effective measures or proven measures that can be used to prevent them and to discourage them. So the tobacco control measures that are often cited as the most effective ones, for example, increasing the prices and taxes of these products to make it unaffordable, using graphic and text health warnings on the packages to warn people about the harms of using these products, smoke-free laws, preventing people from smoking in public places, which also protects individuals who are not smoking from the exposure to secondhand smoke. And there are other measures, for example, increasing funding at the state level to finance tobacco control programs, such as cessation support for those who would like to quit but are unable to quit. So these are the measures that have already proven to be very effective, and government can keep on strengthening these measures. There has been significant progress in reducing smoking over the past few decades, especially after the 1964 Surgeon General's report that warned people about the harms of smoking and established the clear link between lung cancer and smoking. So we see a lot of progress, but it seems that this progress has been limited in specific population groups and also in some states. And this paper also brings that out, that some states have really made good progress whereas other states are falling behind. So there is a role of both the federal, state, and local level governments to be mindful of the disparity in the smoking population across the geography and also population subgroups. So they need to concentrate the efforts to control tobacco use among those pockets where smoking is being concentrated. And this paper highlights that the spatial disparity is one of the major challenges to address the continued tobacco epidemic.
Yeah, and I want to just highlight again education, because you make reference to in the paper that there are some states that are doing a great job, have smokeless areas, have put a tax on tobacco products, and there are others that may be falling behind or not as up to snuff. That's my word, not a technical word, but they're not up to the measure. It sounds to me, in addition to educating the public, there's education needs to happen to these policymakers, whether they be at the federal level or more importantly, at the state level. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, definitely. While federal level interventions can influence across the overall population, the state level interventions can be targeted to specific, state level population or local area level population. And that's where they need to be more aware of where these targets should be. As researchers, we are trying to provide that kind of information because based on historical data, we are seeing that there are particular groups who are very resistant to any policy level major changes or dramatic changes. For example, if you look at the states where the burden of cancer-related deaths or the smoking rates are much higher than other states, you will see that tobacco control policies are also weak there. So it is, it's hard to identify what is causing what, but it seems that they're going hand in hand, and there should be a breakthrough in those states because in those states where people are has strong anti-tobacco sentiment, they also support the policies that will be, stronger to prevent the tobacco epidemic. In contrast, the states that are not supportive of those measures, they are falling behind, and they are also incurring the heaviest burden of tobacco use. So they need to be aware of it.
Yeah, I just think about everything that you're talking about. I think about I get the freedom to choose. That is part of being an American. But I also think about the third-party effects. When you smoke a cigarette or you inhale some type of tobacco product, you're not only impacting yourself, you're impacting those around you, unless you're in like a vacuum someplace. And then the impact to healthcare costs. I mean, it's only going to drive, the more tobacco use there is, and this is where I'm not the expert, but it sounds like your healthcare costs go up, right? Your use of Medicare, Medicaid services, but also just general services is going to make the cost of cancer treatment for those that maybe got cancer by some genetic issue, they're going to have to pay more as well.
So the cost in general is going up because of the technological improvement, and the cost of cancer care is sometimes catastrophic for the most part. So smoking accounts for a large part of the incidence and mortality from cancer. So that's why it accounts for a substantial share of the rising costs. And we can expect that when smoking goes down and the cancer burden because of smoking goes down, the cost that is saved from that can be used for carrying the cost of those type of cancer that cannot be controlled because the genetic factors cannot be modified. But smoking is a modifiable risk factor. So the idea here is that the cancer that is preventable should be prevented by modifying these risk factors such as smoking. And the savings from those costs can be redirected to treat those people who cannot modify their risk factor for their cancer burden.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody who at their face would disagree with anything that you are saying or anything in the study. I think it's just a matter of people waking up and recognizing that it's not only impacting them, it impacts everybody else around them. We're going to have to leave it there, Dr. Nargis. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon to share your perspective.
Thank you for inviting me.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, entertainment, so much more, and all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content? Well, visit our website and, of course, all of our streaming partners. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
But if you're tired of the same old
Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.